Hi there. Thought I'd just give you a quick talk through my 2025 December daily. Now it's done. I've actually transferred it into this album that I ordered. I decided I liked it better. So here it is. So the first page I did some stitching. I printed on craft and then did some stitching. And that was my title page. And then on the back here, I've got the calendar printable that came with the class. I think it was the prep day class, but I'm not sure, it could be the product play side by side. And I just printed it out and then filled in what we'd done each day. I used the snow globe here to make my reason why. Swiveled out. All of these pages, by the way, are shared on my Instagram individually. So if you want to see how I made each page, then just hop onto my Instagram and it's on my page. So the first one, this was a printable from the prep day class. So just talking about advent calendars, got some stitching and some buttons on there. This one has got a library pocket, some different tags in it. Only when I was looking back at this did I realise I think there's some interactivity on just about every page. But I've used up a lot of my old stash this year because I felt like I had enough, so I haven't got much that's brand new. Here's a die cut page. My husband and my son always go to the football together if they can in the December month, so that's a football page. That was a nice night for them. Here I used some of the die cut wreaths that I bought in a shop I saw in London, and used it to talk about my wreath making day that I went on with my son at a friend's house. So I've got these pockets. I think these pockets were from the Remember kit. So again, just taking things from my stash, using them in a different way, and I felt that it worked really well with the wreath making class. Day 5 is my husband's birthday, so here I've used a card and I've just made a swivel with a mechanism to show a birthday photo before we went out. This was from the prep day class, really liked that. Really liked how that worked out. Day 6, I always take some Christmas arrangements to my parents' grave and my husband's parents' grave, so I always like to remember. So we've got that under a flat there, and I've finally used that Never and Always card, or it was a vellum actually. Day 7 is Stuff of Life, just little 2-inch squares. Day 8, I like to include some envelopes in my album, so I hang on to envelopes from Christmas cards I get, but also we were away in Newcastle, and I was really taken with this Christmas card that I saw there. It's the most wonderful Tyne of the year, because obviously it's the River Tyne, and so I bought this Christmas card when I was away and then used it as a booklet to house my photos and journaling. And then by sliding it in the envelope, you've then got a pocket here where you can put in other ephemera. So I often use an envelope, and I think that they work really well. These numbers, some of these you might have seen me, I cut up my last year's advent calendar to make some numbers, and you'll see them throughout the album. This was a page I prepared using some of the digitals from the product play side by side. So I made some tags and then stitched a little cellophane, I think this was packaging, window, and then put a photo inside. But then when I stitched a page protector pocket on the actual page of the album, I realised that I could then put another photo behind the pocket. So we ended up with 8 mini photos about our trip, just in that one page. So it worked really well. Day 9. This was a new biscuit tin I bought this year, and I photographed it, and then I made it large, and then I blew it up and stitched it on a full page of pattern paper, and then I made an envelope out of some vellum to document my son's trip with his family to the Darts. So instead of Merry Christmas, I've put Merry Dartmas, and so that looks like a letter in the mailbox there. There's some photos to go with it. Then I was working off the back of here for day 10. I was documenting a family recipe and baking, so I've used some of the frames here, and I've got a see-through number 10 there, and I like to vary the page size, so this is just a 6x4 card with I've put it in on one of the page attachers there. So day 11, I'm working off the back of that, so I've got a half page over here. This was a fun thing I made this year. I embroidered on a little picture of a jumper, made a hanger out of a paper clip, and that was to document Christmas jumper day, and I bought a new Christmas jumper. So I think this pocket page was part of the digitals from the product play side by side, and I've just stuck it to a 8x4 transparency that I had, and that looks quite good. When you look back here, that sits quite nicely under there, and it fits with that page. I'm always looking at what's happening next as well as what I've just done. So that's the Christmas jumper. This was a page I made a foundation page I made before Christmas, using one of the digitals again from the class. I bought these digitals, sized them, made some little half circle pockets out of acetate. These were from my Stories by the Month kit, and that gave me the jumping off point to have a page without any photos, just about feelings at the moment and counting all the good stuff. So that was day 12. Day 13, I was documenting. This was another page I shared about my son's decision to not have a tree, and I decided to go full on vintage mega baubles this year. I had a lot of baubles left from clearing my parents' house, so I went full on tree, and he decided not to have a tree for various reasons. So to tree or not to tree, that is the question, was what I came up with. I thought that was quite fun. This was a digital stamp from the side-by-side class digitals, and then I stamped over the top of it with some of my own alphas, and then it opens up, and I've got all my journaling's on this side on top of a photo of the close-up of my tree. And then he decided to do a fake mantelpiece on his bookcase in his flat. That's a picture of my trees. I had 3 trees, and he had just a fake mantle in his flat. So that was quite an interesting story. Thought that was quite fun. So I put that there, and then I've just paper clipped it. That's another one of the numbers that I made from the old advent calendar. So that's 13. 14, again, this was a digital from the side-by-side class, but I made it bigger. So that's the fun of digitals, you can make it any size you like. So we went to the local Christmas festival, so I've got some pictures and some documenting. And then when we came home, we had a meal, and I had some leftover crackers from last year I found that had these glasses in, so I used that as a decoration on the page. Day 15, this was a special delivery I was not expecting, and so I made this page where I've stitched some pattern paper to Father Christmas transparency there. My crafty friend Sandra sent me a beautiful gift, and so I documented how special it was and a picture. And then she sent me a card as well, and then I used the bits off the card to decorate the page. So that was a really lovely special day that I wanted to document. Day 16, I made a little pocket for this card. This is just documenting the wrapping paper this year. Didn't think I'd need very much, and these were the ones that I bought. This was nice. A local hotel created a Narnia theme, and we went for a meal with our son, and I thought it was great. Made this like a storybook on here out of vellum, so I've got the documentation and then the door they'd made that looked like a wardrobe, and then you walked through all the coats and then into a tree-lined sort of forest glade. So that was really nice. And then on this side here, I made this. This was an old wrapping paper, I think, that I'd saved from a previous year, and I thought it looked like the inside of a book cover. I then just put that tree on there and used some of my vellum to make frames for the photos of us having a nice meal out, so that's good. Day 18, another one of those numbers, all about coffee. I usually try and get some flavoured coffees, and I got one this year, but then I always have a hazelnut and a vanilla in stock, but I got a new mug. So that's a story all about coffee. Use some of the bag packaging there and put down here what the flavours were. Just a little bit of documenting in that set of tags there. New Holly Jolly mug and new Christmas flavoured coffee pods that I usually buy for myself. So that's day 18. Day 19, working off the back of that, I just put a piece of pattern paper on this side, and then here my son went to Panto, so I documented that. It's got a special place. He used to do the Panto there every year, so that's always got a special place. Number 20. I was writing about Sergio. I like to have a story about my dog in my December daily, and so I wrote a few things about what he does at Christmas. He's 11 now, so I always like to give thanks that he's still here, because he's had a lot of back surgeries, and I just fancied I had in my head this idea with the snow globe to have it open like this, so I just bought the Silhouette cut file for a shutter, Irish shutter I think it's called, and used it to make the centre of the snow globe there. And that's sort of 3D, which is quite nice. It is quite thick though, I suppose, in your album. So that's day 20. Day 21 was all about Christmas cards and how I feel like they're dying out. So I did a bit of a story about we always send them, but there's fewer and fewer. And then my sister-in-law sent me a photo of, every year I make a Christmas card, and she sent me photos of the fact that she's kept them all and uses them as a decoration, which I thought was lovely. So that's in there. And then a picture of how I display my Christmas cards at home. Day 22, we were out with friends, so I've got a hidden pocket in there. That was lovely. Day 23, my son's birthday. So got a bit of detail. Again, this was a birthday card from my husband's birthday, actually, that I just cut up and used. And this red stripe is an envelope from a Christmas card that I bought for him, and I kept the envelope. So I like to reuse things. That's a nice way to do it, and I think it adds pockets quite easily. Some documenting there about things that were happening on Christmas Eve. And then this quote sparked a memory about how I used to look up into the sky on Christmas Eve when I was little. So I've got a bit of journaling about that childhood memory. And then here I've got my little fairy lights trim around a cut file, Holly Jolly Christmas. So this is where I'm starting to document Christmas Day. I was really taken with those, excuse me, those fairy lights. And then here we've just got a selection of photos about Christmas Day. Some of them have got flaps. I made little flaps out of these, transparencies. So that's quite sweet. And then on the back I've documented, oops, turned over too many pages. There it is. On the back of that opens out to document the day. And then on the very back I've just got a picture of words and photos, love these memories, on a print out of a house. And then finally I always like to add in a little bit of ephemera from Christmas Day. So that's my album for 2025.